Hey, what's up, guys? So the main purpose of this video is to show you how you can split a transaction, um, specifically a deposit, using products and services. So when you look at just a normal expense, you have the product and service here, and if you ever wanted to split it, it does allow you to do that as a normal expense. But for some reason, when you have a deposit like this and you want to split it, it does not give you that option. So the reason I needed to do something like this is because a client of mine, he utilizes the BRRRR strategy, and so the problem I was running into was he was receiving the deposit, but they were taking out the fees before the deposit. So I wasn't able to just come into this deposit and put it towards, the loan, because it's not the right amount. And the second problem is, I could have just split it, so it would be a construction loan, and I could put the gross amount, so 22,000. The interest part of it, though, um, I needed to use as a product and service because I want that to be part of the reporting for my client. So what I've learned is, if even though it's going to be a long-term rental, you would still put the holding costs associated with the renovation to the asset. So anything like interest on loans, utility payments, um, taxes, insurance, anything like that, you would just put towards the asset as a capital improvement, and then you could use that for depreciation for the life of the rental. So as long as it's not in service, then you would put it onto the balance sheet into the asset to depreciate. And then once you start, when you're done renovating and you actually start renting out the property, then everything goes to the P&L after that. But so that's a problem I was running into. So if I was actually using this, I could put it to the capital improvement, and then I would put the amount that they took out for fees. Um, and I could maybe even I'll go ahead and just categorize this just to show you what I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with like using product and services to get job costing reporting for like renovations and projects, um, that's what this is here to do. So you have the product and services, which you would set up. So I could just put in the permits because I've already set this one up. So we'll say that, this Home Depot run. I'm just using permits as an example. You would just put whatever vendor, you got the permit from, and then the class, you want to make sure your rental's in there, and I'll just post that. So when I come to the balance sheet, and I'll refresh this, you can see the CapEx has some categories now. And then you see the construction loan. So this is right. 22,000 was the correct amount. But when we come into the category here, this is where you're going to get all of the details that you're looking for when you're doing renovations. So you could see that we have the general category, right? What product and services do, when you come up to this customize, you'll come down to groups here and change it to the product and service. So this works for the permits, right? You can see that this is split, but the interest here doesn't work. It just goes into a non-specified account. And so that didn't quite work for me. I need to make sure that I have all the categories for my clients so they know exactly what it's for. And so let me go back here, and I'll just undo this. Okay. So that being said, if you've never done like the setup before, to get the product and service into the bank feed, you just come up to the settings here, and then this should be like account and settings, and then you'll see expenses here on the left side, and then in the bills and expenses, you want to turn on the show items table on expense and purchase forms. So that's all you need to do for that. And then once that's turned on, you can see it straight from the bank feed. And then to set up the categories, you'll go back into the gear icon and then click on products and services. And this is where you can set up your categories for the job costing. So just as an example, the permits that I just did, when you create it, you would basically come down to this purchasing, and then this expense account, that's where it all gets mapped to. So this right here is the category that we saw, and then this makes sure it goes to the correct category on either the balance sheet, or if it goes to the P&L, you would change this to wherever it needs to go. So that's how I did that. For this deposit though, for me to be able to split it, I figured out that I needed to just create an invoice. So I don't know if this is the perfect way, but it works, and I think it's easy to do. So I created 2 accounts, and I just named it exactly what it is on where it's getting mapped to. So I did a construction loans payable, and this one I pretty much just did the sales side, and then I put the income account to construction loans. So whatever category your loans are, that's where you want to map it in this income account. So I have that one, and then I named the other one interest paid. And this one I actually mapped it to both. So I did the customers because when I make the invoice, then I'll be able to actually use this one. So the income account goes to the CapEx, and then I did the purchasing for the vendor as well, and that's going to the same category, the CapEx. But this way, if it's just like a direct payment, as he's going to do, he's going to pay his lender throughout the renovations, so it's all interest only. And then this way I can do it straight from the bank feed and just categorize it like normal. So that's how I set that up. So let's go back to the bank transactions. And then so we have the 21.5 on 1/1/25. So I'm gonna just create an invoice. The customer, you could just make the same name as the vendor. So whoever the lender is, they're going to be a vendor on your books. You could create the same name and then just put, like what I did is just put parentheses and put customer. So I have the same name, but you have to have a customer in here. Unfortunately, like that's the only way I could think of to make this work. And then make sure the date is right. That matches the date in the bank feed. And then we'll just put exactly how we did it before. So the construction loans payable, that's the gross amount. And then we want the interest paid. And I would actually put the description in here. So interest paid on loan. Okay, and then we'll do the -500. Then we'll make sure it goes to that property. Okay, so the 21.5, that'll match. And then we can even put a description for here. This one doesn't matter so much, but gross amount for loan. Okay. And then we'll just save this. And then you should be able to match it. So here's our invoice. Go ahead and match that. And then let's go back to our report. So if we refresh this, and there it is. So now we actually have a category. We have the interest paid, the 500, the permits is still right, and then construction loan, the 22,000 is correct. And we still have our details. So I would recommend if you're doing the invoice, just put some sort of description so you know why there's an invoice in there. But anyways, that's the workaround that I found. So if you guys have any questions on it, I will drop my Facebook in the description for you guys. So feel free to reach out. I'm pretty active in there. And hopefully this was helpful. But anyways, I will see you guys on the next video.